You're listening to the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski,
featuring former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Neama Rahmani.
It's not the first time we've heard allegations of abuse in the case of Richard Allen, the man who is the main suspect, the man who has been charged with the killings in the Delphi murder case. But we've also heard from an inmate who has made claims that there's a lot of abuse, mistreatment going on in the Westville Correctional Facility where Richard Allen is being held. He was even going to go and testify to it. Robert Baston is his name, but he has stepped back when he was called to go in, and I'm staying in my cell. I'm concerned about my own safety and fear for my own life, according to him. Some of the statements that have been made, though, corrupt sergeants and officers and administrative staff and mental health professionals, all involved in that sort of abuse. Joining me to discuss this and how common it may be, how legit some statements like that could be. To me, it seems like this man really doesn't have anything to lose by making these statements. Or actually, he does have a lot to lose. He has nothing to gain, I should say, by making these sort of statements. Is Neama Rahmani, former federal prosecutor. Are you surprised that we're hearing claims like this coming out of this jail or this prison, which is where Richard Allen is staying?
I'm not surprised, Tony. Prisoners lie sometimes, and especially convicted sex offenders. I mean, that being said, physical abuse does happen in correctional facilities. I don't want to discount, a prisoner just because they say this. Obviously, we don't know. I mean, there's cameras there for a reason, but, it's certainly possible that corrections officers there are engaging in this type of abuse, and it's making an already very strange and bizarre case even more problematic.
Is there any way, any oversight to correct this? I mean, these statements are being made out in public now. Is this something where internally someone goes in and audits this, takes a look, or is it such an ecosystem where it is so unto itself? Obviously, if you're the facility, you probably don't want these allegations to be true. That could end up looking very bad for you and possibly end up in some litigious moves there. What do you do? I mean, is this just something where it's so insulated? These accusations come out from time to time, but nothing ever really happens with them?
Well, there's a few types of oversight. The first is there should be an independent watchdog, usually an inspector general for each government agency that's going to come in and investigate. And presumably he or she should be independent and have the authority to recommend changes and implement them. So that's that. And of course, the Department of Justice can get involved as well. And we've seen, Civil Rights Division, whether it's law enforcement that's breaking the law, they'll file lawsuits, there'll be consent decrees, and sometimes there's even federal judge oversight of certain agencies and facilities. And of course, there's always the possibility of civil litigation, right, where you can come in, represent the inmate, file a civil rights lawsuit, and make a lot of money. So, there's a few ways to hold bad actors on the law enforcement side accountable if there is indeed some sort of abuse going on.
But it seems like a lot of them don't want to talk, if there even is, judging by Robert Baston not coming forward in court to actually make the testimony. I mean, there certainly would be an inherent risk if these things are going on, if you're going to get litigious with them, if you're going to start making threats against them in a legal fashion. I would think there'd be some apprehension that maybe things are going to get far worse or even deadly before they would get to that sort of a stage. Does that not play a role in inmates' minds when these sort of things happen?
Oh, I'm sure they're worried about retaliation if they are indeed being abused. I don't think the complaint is going to make things better, at least in the near term. But long term, they're suffering abuse over the span of months or years. It may be their only remedy, but obviously, I'm not in prison. I'm not dealing with these types of abusive guards, at least allegedly. So, it's a question of, are they willing to, just like any other testimony, right? If you're testifying against someone in court, could be a co-defendant, could be a guard, there is always that fear of retaliation, and that's real. And there's folks that, are inside a jail that worry about that, but people that are free and just lay witnesses that feel the same thing.
Sick of the ads?
We are too.
Start listening with no commercials now and get access to all of our episodes in advance of everyone else.
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
True Crime Today Premium Plus.
Sign up now.